Hey guys! It is a brand new year and I'm so excited to kick it off with a movie I have been waiting to see for the past year, and that is Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. I finally got to see it and I'm going to tell you what I thought of it. So just to let you know a little bit what the movie is about, it is 8 people on their way to Red Rock in Wyoming in winter around the Civil War time. They get stuck in the middle of a blizzard so they can't get to their destination, so they have no choice but to just stay in this cabin and wait for the storm to pass by. Now these people don't really know each other, but some of them have heard from one another. Some are very famous bounty hunters. One is going to be the new sheriff in town. There's the hangman. There's this very famous killer, the girl, and she's going to be hanged the next day in Red Rock, and so she has a really big price on her head. So 8 people, some killers, some not, some have very bad reputations, stuck in a cabin for 2 days until the storm passes by. What could happen? Well, you know Quentin Tarantino, and I can guarantee you a lot of blood will be shed. I have mixed feelings about this movie. I wasn't completely taken with it as so many other people have. Not to say that the movie is not good. It's really good. It's definitely up to Tarantino's standards. It just might not be my favorite Tarantino movie. First of all, you can really rely on Quentin Tarantino's style and cinematography, which is something that I always look forward to, and he never disappoints. I think the setting of a very wintry, white, and sort of pristine countryside was an amazing juxtaposition to the bloodshed that you expect will happen. And I really like the fact that they're alone and there's no possible way of escaping or going anywhere. You have no choice but to face each other and face your past demons. Another thing I really liked about it was the way every character was exposed through dialogue. I think we can all agree that Tarantino writes just very rich, substantial dialogue. It doesn't feel like it's exposing in a very blunt way. You feel like you get to know one another as if you were part of the Hateful Eight. You're someone who just got in there, met these people, and you're hearing, you know, the hearsay and gossip of who is whom, and I really enjoy that. It doesn't feel like they're trying to show you in a really direct way, but at the same time you get the right information to know who you should be worried about in this scenario. And speaking of feeling like, as someone from the audience, you are part of this group, I think Tarantino did this beautifully with the camera work. There's a lot of shots of a very confined space. So for example, in the beginning of the movie they're in a carriage and, you know, 4 characters are starting to get to know one another, and the camera of course is in the carriage, but the room is so narrow and constricted you feel like you're in the carriage with them, and so you're kind of feeling that tension that they're all feeling with each other. The final thing I just absolutely loved about this movie, and it hits you in the face as soon as it starts, is the score, which is composed by Ennio Morricone. Ennio Morricone actually composed an original score for this movie, which is very unusual for Tarantino. And I have to say, the score is just fucking unsettling. It's disturbing. I'm sorry, but there's just no other way to say it. This is not a spoiler or anything, but from the very first scene, you get a very close-up shot of a Jesus, a crucifix, kind of buried in snow, so you kind of know where you are, and that's a very long shot as you get to see the carriage passing by. You get to hear the score and really appreciate it because there's nothing happening on screen. And it's just this kind of beating drum that sounds very native and just constant and rhythmic, and you have a very high note in the background, which I think is a synthesizer. I am not super sure, but the main instrument, it's like an oboe or a bassoon. It's very deep and it continues this very sort of eerie melody that keeps increasing and increasing, and it just builds this massive tension that will happen throughout the entire movie. And it's just that combined with the stillness of some characters and then the burst of violence. Oh my god, it was genius. It makes you feel so scared and just kind of upset and unnerved in a very weird way. That kind of score paired up to some disturbing scenes of a naked man in the snow. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Of some climactic scenes. Oh man, this movie left me feeling very weird. And I'm used to these movies. I'm used to Tarantino. I'm a big fan. I was not expecting to feel this way. Now, moving aside all the things that I really enjoyed, there were some things that I was expecting he would do better, because he has done it better in the past. You have 8 characters. Very much set like a play, you're in one spot, you kind of have that feeling that it's all going to be dialogue. I'm expecting amazing dialogue all the time, I'm expecting really interesting things, and I feel like a lot of the dialogue in this movie was about telling you everybody's past and who they were, as opposed to having a conversation, and I kind of missed that a little bit. And for only having 8 characters, I'm expecting them to be really interesting, all of them, and I feel like we keep hearing the same 4 characters all the time, and the rest are just background. I was really interested in the character of Daisy. She's the killer, she's the one that the bounty hunter has, and he's going to take her up to the town to get killed for $10,000. Now she's a constant presence, she's fun, she's interesting, she looks really crazy, but she doesn't say much for a big chunk of the movie, and I miss that because you get the feeling that she's really interesting and she kind of has like some kind of Machiavellic plan in her head, and I don't hear much from her for a very long time. And I hear way too much of Kurt Russell's character, who's the bounty hunter. He's violent, he's a hyena, really that's the way he's described in the movie, and it's just too much the same paranoid character saying the same thing over and over again. And at one point, about an hour and 30 minutes in, which is mostly dialogue, not much has happened, I am pretty sick of it. Another thing that kind of stuck with me is the fact that the movie reminds me a lot of his first movie, Reservoir Dogs. It's a lot of people in just one place feeling paranoid and tense and, you know, kind of trying to discover who is responsible for what in here, very similar to Reservoir Dogs. And it was just such a flashback to that, which I don't mind. I think that's quite nice, but it felt too much like that, maybe not as interesting, and just a little bit too damn slow in the beginning. It's a little too long, and the first act just moves very slowly. The building of the tension is good, the climax is good, but even so, there's just something about the resolution of the movie, without spoiling anything, that felt too simple for me. You're kind of in the same scared, paranoid mentality as these characters, and then when they finally reveal the resolution, or very much like what's behind the curtain, you kind of go, oh. And so it feels a little bit underwhelming. Again, the movie is really good. It's just not my favorite Tarantino movie. So guys, if I had to review this movie for you, I would tell you that The Hateful Eight is definitely worth watching in theaters. But guys, that's just my opinion. Tell me, what did you think of The Hateful Eight? If you haven't seen it, please let me know what is your favorite Tarantino movie. Leave your answers in the comment section down below. But guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. You know that is always appreciated. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel for more weekly reviews and other shenanigans. And I will see you on our next movie date. Bye!